Good day and welcome to Dutchess Talk Radio. Dutchess Talk Radio, produced by Shark Creative, made possible by a variety of people who work up and down and all throughout the Hudson Valley, like Robeson Oil, the house that Service built. By Michael Labriola, landscape design and construction of Armonk in Westchester. By Hightower in Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. And by Jaguar Land Rover. Stop into one of their showrooms around the Hudson Valley, including in places like New Rochelle, White Plains, and Mount Kisco. Joined here on What's Happening in the Lower Hudson Valley by Frank Castella Jr. Frank Castella Jr. is the president and CEO of the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Frank, welcome back to Dutchess Talk Radio. And as we continue, we hope to move out of the pandemic. How's business in Dutchess?
Business in Dutchess is booming. Things are doing very well. While we know that there's a lot of inflation going on out there, especially with respect to wages, the employers out there are more than willing to jump up their employees in pay because they are so busy, they need the employees. So things are happening really fast here in Dutchess County. A lot of development. Just a news release that came out last week from Think Dutchess Alliance for Business, one of our economic development entities here in the county. There's over $1.6 billion in just 5 projects that are under development here. So that's only the 5. Of course, we know there's a lot more going on, especially in the city of Poughkeepsie and in the cities of Beacon, but all throughout the county. So things are happening real well.
Why is Dutchess doing so well economically when other areas not too far away are not?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors involved in this. Certainly, COVID had an effect. We saw a big influx in folks moving up here out of New York City. They were either looking for second homes and or they're working remotely and they're getting rid of their places in Manhattan. And that had a major effect on our housing market. And of course, that affects everything else that's tied to it, including construction, and the list goes on. So that was one factor to it. But right before COVID hit, city of Poughkeepsie was under a major economic reconstruction. And if you walk downtown in the city of Poughkeepsie and you view Main Street and even along the arterials and some of the busy sections of the city of Poughkeepsie, you'll notice a major transformation happening. A lot of steel going up, a lot of buildings that are old, really beautiful, architecturally pleasing buildings that are now going to be reformatted and rehabbed, many of which are already completed, but there's about another 20 or 30 of those projects that are under construction at this time. And my understanding there's another 20 to 30 that are either in different stages of planning and development. So there's a lot of major projects happening right in downtown Poughkeepsie. So of course you combine that with some of the other projects like the Dutton Lumber Project, which is just north of the walkway over the Hudson for a point of reference. That is a residential community in both the city and the town. It spans over both the city and the town. And that residential community is right on the water on the Hudson River. And then there's another project that's just north of that, across from Marist College, which is known as the old Hudson River Psych Center. Hudson Heritage is the project. That project has been underway now for the better part of about 7 to 8 years. And that construction is now coming to completion on the first phase, and they're working on the second phase. The commercial portion is nearly complete. The second phase will be residential and condominiums and so on. And that's a pretty major development as well. That is well over $100 million. Eastdale Village in the town of Poughkeepsie, that is about a little over $100 million project. And then just north of Hyde Park, I should say just in Hyde Park, north of the town of Poughkeepsie, across from the Culinary Institute of America, there is a project that's well over $1 billion that is under construction. They're in phase 1 now. They broke ground this spring. So that's just in a very concentrated area, I would say very much on the west side of Dutchess County. And then, of course, what happens throughout the rest of the county is also very significant. There's a lot of little sprawling projects here and there. So major stuff happening here in Dutchess.
Glad you mentioned Marist College. I studied under the Marist brothers in Manhattan at the old St. Agnes High School. Many of the brothers I studied under wound up making their way to Marist. Some went back and forth. Like, for example, my old guidance counselor, Brother Sean Salmon, who is still at Marist, and one of my pals at St. Agnes, brother, he wants to be referred to as Brother Michael Flanagan, joined the Brotherhood after we graduated in 1974, and they're still in the neighborhood, no doubt about that, and they hope to be for a long time. Let's go back to Basic Economics 101 and how Poughkeepsie and Beacon and other fronts on or near the Hudson River are being redeveloped. And we look at some of the other old industrial cities up and down the Hudson Valley, Peekskill, Kingston, the city of Hudson further up as you head towards Albany, among others. Is this a blueprint to revive the entire Hudson Valley, what you happen to be doing in Dutchess?
Well, I think it's been well underway with many of these cities for quite a few years. We've had plans since the 1990s when IBM pulled out. And of course, we've hit a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. As you know, 9/11 put a big dent in the economy. And then again, 2008 with the economic downturn. So we've seen these blips in the road, but it's been a steady, slow climb. And I think that the economic boom that we saw in the last 7 years or so really helped the economy grow, especially with respect to some of the legislation that was put in place at the federal level. As you know, there's opportunity zones that were created in inner cities all throughout the country. And we have, fortunately, a very sizable opportunity zone right in the city of Poughkeepsie. And I think Beacon also has a small zone, but Beacon was already pretty well developed by the time that came into effect. So this is really helping us. There's so many little factors. Being on the MTA, end of the MTA line is a tremendous factor for us. That is a nice quality of life feature for people. And I think all encompassing, it's a great quality of life here. Nature's right on your doorstep. You also have all of the arts and culture, and of course the Hudson River and activities that come with it. So right here in the heart of Dutchess County, we have what it takes to be an economic engine in the middle of the Hudson Valley.
Mm-hmm. And I think you have a county executive who has worked with businesses to structure taxes a certain way, to structure benefits, add-ons, added value, et cetera. Let's do some more economics 101. Talk about how that helps get things done and helps create jobs.
Sure. I think one of the most important things that County Executive Marcus Molinaro has done is appointed an individual as part of his team that is the point person for business. And that's Ron Hicks. He's the Assistant County Executive for Economic Development and Strategic Development here in the county. And his role is really to be that point person when there's struggles and when there's questions and when there's inquiries to help foster that development and move projects along here in the county. Recognizing that there's always stumbling blocks, especially in the planning process and in the health department and other departments throughout the communities, not just at the county level. Ron can help navigate that and has done a tremendous job in doing so. He's made it his passion, and he's extremely knowledgeable on all aspects of, and that is such a critical role to moving projects forward. Once people feel like they're welcome in a community and they're being assisted, and I don't want to say handholded because these developers don't necessarily want that, but they do appreciate the assistance and the red carpet being rolled out for them to help them navigate what is a different system here than where else they may be developing. Although I will say we have a lot of local developers that are still investing very heavy here. The Baxter family is a great example. The Benora family, another good example. There's plenty of examples of local families that are continuing to develop here. And, I think it's just a combination of all these different factors that have come together and good planning on the part of the county that has helped us really move forward economically.
Bottom line, streamlining gets things done.
No question. Time is money. And I know that's very cliche, but when you sit into a planning board meeting and they're talking about the hydrangeas that are in front of the Stoutenberg house and how that come July, those hydrangeas are dried up when it's dry outside and there's no color. And they have about 7 consultants there to the tune of about $4,000 an hour from the developer. That is a very, very economically unfeasible pattern to take. And that's what's happened in and around the county for many years. And now that has changed.
Mm-hmm. Move into now some of the events we have coming up, like, for example, the Dutchess County Fair in a few days.
Yes, Dutchess County Fair, major economic driver for us here. It is the second largest agricultural fair in the state of New York. You know, I think there's a stigma around county fairs. If you've ever been to a county fair, that's most of your local county fairs, they just don't have the cachet that the Dutchess County Fair has. And what I mean by that is this is a very clean fair. The vendors are juried. All of the retail vendors are juried, including the food vendors. The ride company that they use is top notch. The entertainment, the value that you get for the price and cost of admission to go to that fair. And I've been going since I was just a wee lad, and I have never missed a year at the Dutchess County Fair. And I have to tell you, the value that you get there is bar none the best of any other type of admission that you can pay for, especially if you have a family. The agricultural aspect of this fair is tremendous. We still have a very big ag community here in Dutchess County and throughout the Hudson Valley. Anything from cattle to sheep to goats to pigs to chickens, horses, and the list goes on. And it is really a top-notch fairgrounds, and it's of course located right on the end of the rail, being that Rhinecliff takes Amtrak right into New York City, and that is a very big driver to the fairgrounds. So if folks are coming in and out of Manhattan, you can take Amtrak right into Rhinecliff, and you're right there at the Dutchess County Fair.
Yeah, I drive up from the Bronx for it. I guess we can still get some Rhinebeck Fireman's Chili, the best in the world, as they say.
Indeed. And of course, the milkshakes from the 4-H booth are one of the favorites. If you've never had one of their milkshakes, there's nothing that can compare.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the petting zoo too, right?
Of course, petting zoos and acrobats, and then they have live music and shows and entertainment. It just is nonstop. The schedule is action-packed. You really need to check out their website and see what's happening because, as I mentioned, the value, you could go every single day and see something different every day of the fairgrounds. And it's open for 6 days. So it starts Tuesday of next week and then runs to that Sunday, and every day there's a different show.
August 23rd to 28th are the dates for the Dutchess County Fair 2022 version. Dutchess Talk Radio with Frank Castella, Jr., President and CEO, Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Frank, by the way, I have an old girlfriend back then who I still call up from time to remind her about how she just went around the petting zoo with all the animals there, and she still remembers that more than 30 years later, too. So what other events do we have coming up?
You mentioned events, and one of the biggest ones that we have here in Dutchess County and in the Hudson Valley is the Hudson Valley Hot Air Balloon Festival, now in its 31st year, presented by the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber Foundation, along with JP Morgan Chase and Company. Last year, JP Morgan Chase approached us and they said, we love what you did during COVID with the Balloon Festival. It was the only event that we could produce because we did it drive-in style that year. And they absolutely loved it. They jumped on board last year when we were fully back in person. We moved the event to Time Moore Park in Unionvale. And this event has grown exponentially. This year, it's an international festival once again. A number of years ago, we had about 7 different countries represented at the festival. This is the first year we're allowed to have them back internationally. We will have the Canadians there. So really, it's the Canadians in the U.S. that'll be on display. We have 20 hot air balloons and over 100 flights scheduled throughout the course of the weekend, 5 flight times. So it'll start on Labor Day weekend, September the 2nd, run through the 4th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Friday night, we'll have a launch, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. And each of the evenings, we will have a hot air balloon illumination moonglow combined with fireworks in the background. And if you've never seen that, it's one of the most majestic experiences that you will have. We have people that come back just for that because it is really a tremendous view and a sight to see. So there's a lot happening, a lot of activities. We have a beer and wine tent that'll be presented by Sloop Brewing Company and also Take 5 Hard Seltzer. Botini Fuel will be fueling all of our hot air balloons all weekend long. And of course, we have so many sponsors that have helped to bring this event to us, including Arch Care, who's bringing us the fireworks this year. We have axe throwing, we have a trackless train, and there are so many family activities, including live music and games all throughout the fields, including cornhole and large giant chess and a bubble zone for the kids. So there's just a full slate of activities that are happening throughout the entire weekend. Again, it's the Hudson Hudson Valley Hot Air Balloon Festival. And if anyone is interested in finding out more information about tickets and availability or hot air balloon rides, there's only 3 hot air balloon rides left. So I wouldn't be surprised by the time this airs that we will not have any availability.
Might be sold out. Yeah.
Sold out. But you can find that information all online at www.balloonfesthv.com. And
also, too, we have the fall days away, basically. That means apple picking season and the wineries in autumn, too.
Yes, apple picking, pumpkin picking, wineries. Wineries are open now. There's a big wine tour season happening. It's been going on since spring, so that's a very popular activity up here. Breweries. We have a tremendous number of breweries that have popped up all throughout the Hudson Valley. Very popular to have brew tours. And then, of course, you have a lot of the fall activities like haunted hay rides and then haunted attractions. Headless Horseman hay rides and haunted houses is right here in the community. And they are one of our members at the Chamber. And they are one of the largest haunted attractions throughout the United States. Check them out, headlesshorseman.com. One of the experiences, if you've never been to a haunted attraction, there's nothing quite like them. They've been called the Disney World or Six Flags of the haunted industry.
Anything on the drawing board yet for mid to late fall into the holidays?
We do. We have a lot of events scheduled. We have over 165 at the Dutchess County Regional Chamber, and of course, there's many events in and around through the Hudson Valley. You can find them all on our website, dcrcoc.org, because I could rattle them all off, and you're never going to be able to write the dates down fast enough because they're all right here. But we do have the Athena Awards, which is a very large event in our community here, the Hudson Valley, which we're taking nominations for right now. This is a recognition of any individuals that are doing work to uplift women in either the workplace or at home. If you are that advocate for women's rights, if you're that advocate for making and improving a better workplace for females, then this is a recognition for you. Man or woman, doesn't matter. If that is a focus of yours, then we want to make sure that we're recognizing those individuals and the impact that they have on our community. So the Athena Awards is going to be presented in November. We have job fairs. We, of course, have all of our regular networking and Chamber of Commerce style events, such as business after hours and contact breakfast. But then we have all the events that we fill in between, that we recognize local not-for-profit organizations. We have, of course, ribbon cuttings where we recognize a business and the milestone celebrations. And those are just some of the smaller events, but some of the major signature events are all listed on our calendar. And again, that's dcrcoc.org.
And how about all the relevant emails and phone numbers, too, for you and the Dutchess Chamber of Commerce?
Anyone can always reach out to me directly, Frank at dcrcoc.org. That's my email. And the number here, the main line, is 845-454-1700.
Dutchess County, open for business year-round.
Absolutely, always indeed.
Frank Castella, Jr., President and CEO, Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce. We thank you for joining us here on Dutchess Talk Radio.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the opportunity.
And we thank you again, Frank Castella, Jr., here on Dutchess Talk Radio, produced by Shark Creative. What's happening in the Lower Hudson Valley? Made possible by a variety of people who work throughout the Hudson Valley, like Robeson Oil, the house that service built by Michael Labriola, landscape design and construction of Armonk in Westchester, also by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard, and by Jaguar Land Rover. Stop into one of their showrooms around the Hudson Valley. They are in places like New Rochelle, White Plains, and Mount Kisco. Catch all of our Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, Westchester, Putnam, and Fairfield County Talk Radio programming on our YouTube channel, Shark Creative YouTube, and yes, indeed, we are now on Apple Podcasts too.